Hi guys, today we'll be looking at the XLOOKUP formula. The XLOOKUP formula came out about 2 or 3 years ago and it has completely replaced the HLOOKUP formula and the VLOOKUP formula. The XLOOKUP formula has made Excel so much easier and I want to show you so many ways to use it. We're going to look at 4 things. The first one is using the XLOOKUP for an exact match. The next is using the XLOOKUP when there is an error. Third is using the XLOOKUP when there's 2 fields we're searching for. And finally, we'll use the XLOOKUP for an approximate match. So let's jump in. So here you can see I have a data sheet of NBA players. So we're gonna look up some information about any NBA player we want. Since I'm a Phoenix Suns fan, we'll pick Devin Booker. So we wanna use the XLOOKUP formula to find out what position Devin Booker plays. Okay, so to use the XLOOKUP formula, we'll type in XLOOKUP and it says a lookup value. So we're gonna select Devin Booker. Then there's a lookup array. So we're gonna look for his name in the player array, Control-Shift down, lock it in, and then we're gonna use a return array and we're looking for position. So we're gonna go here in position, Control-Shift down again, F4 to lock it in, close our brackets, and we can tell that he plays the shooting guard position. But what if we accidentally spell his name wrong? We put an extra S at the end of his name. It gives us an error. Now what the XLOOKUP function has built in is an if not found optional criteria. And if it's not found, we can just say player not found. So then we know if we get this error, we probably spelled the player's name wrong. So then we can go ahead and say, oh, I added an extra S, take that off, and it gives us our answer again. Now we're gonna use the XLOOKUP function to look up 2 fields, which is Devin Booker and the age. So to do that, we do the same thing, start with Devin Booker as the lookup value, and then the lookup array is gonna be the same array. Control-Shift down, lock it in, and now the return array, we're gonna now use another XLOOKUP function because we wanna look up the field, or the lookup value is now the age. I can't see because my function's blocking, but I believe it's the age. And then the lookup array is going to be these headers now. So we're going to lock that in. And now the return array is going to be everything. So starting where the first row and the first column meet, do Control-Shift right, Control-Shift down, lock it in. And so now it's looking up across all the headers, and then once it finds that header, it's going to go down and find the name. So we're filtering by Devin Booker's name and also by the header of age. Now I'll close that, an extra parenthesis, and we can see he is 26 years old. So once we have this formula set up, the 2 XLOOKUPs inside each other, it's so nice because instead of having to select each individual array like we did on the first one, we can now make sure the cells are appropriately locked. Devin Booker, everything's locked. This one's only locked by columns. Then everything else is locked in. We can drag that down and we can see all our other information. And so we can see he shoots 35% from the 3-pointer and he scores about 27.8 points per game. And so now when we have this set up, it's so nice. We can go jump to other players. LeBron James, it'll give it to us. Let's see, Cole Anthony, Chris Paul. There's so many ways that you can continue to just filter through, and it'll be super easy when you have that XLOOKUP all set up. Now, we're gonna use the XLOOKUP to find an approximate match. So to find an approximate match, this is a little different than what we were just doing. So in this table, I have a list of people and their taxable income and their tax, and this is the tax bracket for the state of California. So we want to find out what the marginal tax rate is for each individual person. So if we were to do this ourselves, we would have to say, okay, 186, come over here. He falls in between these two, so he'd be taxed 10.5% for his next dollar gained. However, that would take a long time to go through and fill that out. And since these numbers aren't the exact same as these numbers, the exact match won't work in the XLOOKUP. So let's see what we have to do. So we'll start by typing the XLOOKUP the lookup value that we're gonna look up is the taxable income. We're not gonna lock it in because we want to drag this formula down. Now the lookup array is gonna be this taxable income array, and then the return array is gonna be the income tax rate. Now if not found, we could say not found. And then the match mode, this is what we're looking at. So there's an exact match, which is the default of what we're using. There's an exact match or the next smaller item, and then there's an exact match or the next larger item, and then there's a wildcard character match. So for our purposes, we're gonna wanna look at the exact match or the next larger item because that's the tax bracket that we'll be in. So we're gonna select 1, and then we're gonna close parentheses and hit enter. So we can see, as we determined before from checking, that Matthew, because he has a taxable income of $186,000, falls into this marginal tax bracket. So now what we do is we can copy and paste our formula down, and it looks like there's a few people that we have not found. So because we haven't found these people, let's check out why. So there's 881,000, which is larger than the highest value. So what our XLOOKUP formula is doing right now is it's looking at this value and looking for an exact match or the next larger item. And on all these that have not found, there is no other larger item. So what we could do to fix this, and instead of saying not found, we say, okay, if it can't find a larger item, it must be at the top. So we're gonna say if there's an error, it's gonna be that highest bracket. So let's see if that works. So we'll do that, and then we'll double click to copy it all down, and now we can see that the XLOOKUP formula is finding those people above the highest tax bracket. These are a few ways that you can use the XLOOKUP formula. It's definitely not all of them, but I hope you learned a little bit about how to best filter through using the XLOOKUP formula with large data sets and organize that. So if you liked what you learned, go ahead and hit subscribe. I want to hear any thoughts or things that you have in the comments that you'd like to share, and I'd love to try to be active and answer those things. Thanks for watching.